Let's workflow tonight.
Good afternoon, dental internet world. My name is Dr. Vishal Sharma, once again alongside my friend and colleague, Dr. Mike Parchewski. Mike, here we are at episode number 50 for our podcast. 50 countries and the 50th podcast. What a milestone for digital workflow dentistry. Mike, tell the listeners what we have in store for them today.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Vishal. Great to see you again and great to be back on the podcast. And I'm excited about this podcast 50 and doing a retrospective. So today we're going to go through our journey. And man, what a journey it was, all the way through COVID and beyond. And today we're going to recap some of our key moments. Some of the tech team put together some of these moments for us. So for those of you who are on a podcast and don't make a moment, just know that you are very special to us. And the tech team put these together. And, you know, one of the exciting things about our podcast is the influence that we've had on dentistry and digital technology, but it's also exciting how far our alumni have come. And so we'll talk a little bit about where some of the guests are currently, and there's some exciting stories there.
Yeah, Mike, that sounds great. What's really struck me is, number one, the amount of time that we've been doing this. It's amazing how quickly time goes. But really the journey and seeing that evolution of speakers, as you'd mentioned. So elaborate. What are some of your thoughts about that journey, and how have you felt over the last 6 years of us doing this?
Well, I look back and realistically, a lot of great stories. As I sat in the tech room with the tech people going through the podcast. We uncovered just so many great stories and great things that we've covered, and some funny moments for sure, and some different hairstyles for both of us, and facial hair changes, color changes. It's great. But I've also really witnessed that how DWD has always been fighting to be at the forefront, almost like we're predicting the future. You could almost call us soothsayers, or should we say toothsayers?
Mike. Well, you know what? One thing that hasn't changed is your cheesy dad jokes over the years. So, yes, the tech team. I like that you have a tech team hidden in the back closet of the clinic somewhere. What's the first clip?
Okay, let me go ahead and bring it up. So the first clip's going to be from our very first episode, and this is the one that got it all started. So here we're going to be talking about the one appointment crowns. And, that's still a very relevant technique today. So let's take a listen. Can you go through with us the concept of the one visit crown and how that is a big part of your day-to-day clinic?
Yeah, well, if we evaluate it with the three similar topics, the first one you discussed was efficiency. So a single appointment, obviously more time efficient for the patient. They don't have to come back and get anesthetized potentially a second time a few weeks later. So there's added patient comfort from that perspective. With the new Prime Mill, which Dentsply Sirona released at the end of January, which we'll be discussing in a bit more detail later on, the zirconia workflow and the Emax workflow, the time required to prep and seed a restoration has decreased as well. So time efficiency, better for the patient, obviously better for the business of the office, and of course, less interruption into our normal workflow. We're discussing 60 to 90 minutes at the most for restoration.
I'm not sure if we look younger there. The term that I prefer is just under-preliminarized. But, the concept of that single visit crown, Mike, is still as relevant, if not more relevant, than it was when we had our first podcast. There's obviously still new evolutions with CEREC. CEREC Go has recently come out. Obviously, there's faster milled resin restorations, and then Midas and the additive sprint ray aspect. So what do you think of those technologies? What's your thought on the evolution?
You know what? I think with 3D printing becoming such a prevalent technology, that dentists now just want to be able to manufacture night guards, surgical guides, and now crowns, it has really driven that idea of the one visit crown even further. Because let's be honest, there is an investment with technology and learning curves. And what has changed on both the CEREC side and the Midas and the Sprint Ray side is how much better the products are getting, but it's the software. And now we have AI coming in, especially like with the DS Core system, that these things are being designed so fast, so easy, so that when we were using, or I was using back in the day, the RedCam, you really had to be almost like a mini lab technician to get good results. Now it's very straightforward. And with the technology like Cerat Go, where it's milling the composites, 2 minutes, you can have a composite restoration, which is pretty amazing.
I recorded a video yesterday just on a demo case for unit anterior utilizing design in DS Core. And I'm amazed at the evolution of that AI-supported design month over month. Now, is it replacing what I'm doing clinically right now? No, but it's not too long before that starts to happen. So I would agree with you. The single visit in-house manufacturing has certainly exploded and will certainly continue to do so. What's next on the docket?
Well, next we have Dr. Sunny Verdi, who's going to be discussing his passion for composite restorative dentistry and being able to find patients, looking for patients with tooth wear. So let's take a listen.
Well, I love that you mentioned ortho. I think that you're not at least thinking about ortho, and I think you can offer ortho at this point because it's so accessible now. You're doing your patients a disservice. Like, it is probably one of the most beneficial, if not the most beneficial way to help people. Because one of my big passions and how I came to loving composites so much and getting more to aesthetic dentistry was looking at tooth wear. I see tooth wear all the time, and I think it's really not discussed enough with patients and not brought, to the forefront that it should be, because every day we see patients with wear.
That's a great clip from a friend of ours and a great DWD alumni. Sunny's got an upcoming webinar with Spear that we have him doing on exactly the topic he was discussing. So obviously the benefits of minimalistic composite, or in Canada, composite dentistry, and the modern techniques to, either restore bite or aesthetic improvements, Mike, I think they're understated. And, you reminded me that the term restorative a while back means, of course, return to nature or natural form. So what are your thoughts on the evolution of the materials of composite or composite and the additive nature of those procedures?
Yeah, I agree. Whether you're using the 3D printed or the milling of the composite from the milled blocks, or doing the hand sculpting, the ability to improve a patient's dental health and their mental well-being or confidence is incredible. And I really think that the techniques that Sunny teaches, their techniques have gotten better. The tools have gotten better. The matrices have gotten better. And the education has gotten better, and there's more hands-on. And so I feel like the technology has caught up to what people want to deliver. So while the material may not have changed inherently a whole lot, the technique has changed a whole lot, and the ability to do predictable cases in wear and in aesthetics is like nothing you've seen before.
Yeah, it's a good point. And it's a material that's been around in dentistry for a long, long time, but as it starts to evolve, we're seeing a lot of other applications with it. Very, very versatile, and Sunny's leading the edge on that education. What's next? I'm my surgical spider sense is going off.
Okay, you are correct. We are going to jump into one of my mentors and one of your good friends, legendary periodontist, Dr. Farhad Bolchi. So let's take a listen to him talking. My nerd out part of this was the socket preservation. So let's take a listen to his recipe for success.
So if all four walls are intact, one of my favorite materials is to use Osteogen plugs in the posterior sockets. I was very skeptical of this material just because of the publications the company has put out there. But the material itself works really well. Now, the way I use it is a little bit different than what is being promoted. We cut it up, mix it with liquid PRF, and condense it really well. You'll have really beautiful results in a four-wall posterior defect. If there is a wall missing, then we use a membrane. In posteriors, my preference is to use non-resorbable membranes and then take them out at 4 weeks. And then in anteriors, though, I like to use mostly allografts because they maintain the volume better.
Dr. Bolche is such a great educator, not only for CDOCs in Charlotte and Scottsdale, but Mike, as you know, he is going to be putting on some webinars and seminars, in-person seminars on the spear side, on grafting, actually anterior aesthetically driven implants, and also FP1 to FP3 later on this year. So lots of really great information from Dr. Bolche currently, and a valued CDOC spear faculty member moving forward.
Yeah, it's a great clip for sure. Just a lot of wisdom there and great techniques. And actually, I was able to watch his recent webinar, FP1 webinar, where he went through a few cases. Fantastic webinar. And it was really interesting because he was discussing the socket shield for anterior and posteriors as well, which you don't hear a lot about. His techniques of placing the implant, as well as root farming, which I thought was pretty cool. And that's the concept of leaving those roots subcrestal to hold the bone, both vital and non-vital roots in these full arch cases. So it was really good.
That is an interesting concept. And as two guys from Saskatchewan, I missed that webinar. So I would have assumed root farming was what you guys just did with carrots and squash in your greenhouse on the farm. But I guess there's other applications in dentistry as well. What's next? What's our next clip?
Well, actually, that's why I tuned in, was because I heard about root farming. I'm like, hey, that's my jam. But, it turned out to be even better. So it was good. So our next clip is one of your dental hygienists that you've worked closely with, and exciting. After being on our podcast, she has really moved up the ranks and has become a North America trainer and leader in digital workflows for dental teams. So we're going to hear from Lindsay Jansen, registered dental hygienist, and let's hear this clip. And she's going to be talking about the importance of acronyms and having a system for handoffs between the dentist and the hygienist.
So it's important because it keeps us on track for the hygiene exam, of course, and it helps us hit all of our points so we're not just focused on the perio aspect, if that's my main concern, is the inflammation, but then I'm completely missing the recession or the tooth wear. So it helps all of us hygienists, no matter how long you've been at the practice for, to hit every point. And I mean, sometimes we get busy, sometimes you just have a bad recall or just not a thorough one and you miss a few points. There's times where I don't even tell them the hygiene interval because we're just so focused on ortho or restorative. So it happens, but it's more or less just there to help us ensure that we're hitting everything.
Yeah, that warp concept is really been something that Lindsay has identified. She's promoted it. Actually, she's one of our CDOCs webinar trainers as well. So she just had a new digital learning video that came out on communication, utilizing technology to communicate more effectively with patients. And that, I guess, Mike, speaks to sort of that if I do nothing scenario, or we term it the damaging result of existing conditions. I think it's important, and Lindsay talks about that. AI has tools that help support that. Of course, one of our alumni and a friend of both you and I, Dr. Amrish Khanna, he's involved in OraQ, a company that you're a big proponent of, AI software that helps kind of predict those future issues by identifying risk. So yeah, lots of really interesting information from Lindsay and, also from Amrish.
Yeah, what a great journey those two have had, and kudos to her. She's just an awesome speaker. So impressed at her young age, how effective she is at communication and getting the message across to teams. And she's a very exciting speaker. I think she's learned from you a little bit there. And then on to Amrish. What a great endeavor he's been on. It's been exciting to watch his journey as well. Now, next we have Dr. Dan Butterman talking about the origin of the CEREC doctors and something that we're closely working on and working with, and why they've had a huge effect on education and why they've become such a driving force in North America. So let's now take a listen.
It's interesting because it really started with the idea that we were going to partner with manufacturers, Dentsply Sirona, and we're going to partner with distributors, Patterson and then Henry Schein, with the idea that, hey, people are going to invest a lot of money in this technology. And we want to be able to get them up and running and be able to have success and use that. So the thing that got us most excited, and I think the thing that really pushed us forward, is that our education is Monday morning education, meaning that you come for 2 days or you come for multiple workshops. The intent is when you get back to your practice on Monday, whether it's implant restoration or implant placement or anterior veneers.
Yeah, Dan's such a fantastic educator. He's been a mentor of mine for many years. Great array of knowledge on the CDOX and the CERAC side. And he's certainly become a close friend over the years. As you know, he's also my boss on the Spear side. He's the Chief Dental Officer of Spear Education. So just a great guy to work with and someone who certainly practices exactly what they preach. He's still in clinic multiple days per week, balancing a really busy workload. And yeah, obviously, as you know, I love CDOX. I'm flying to Phoenix tomorrow, 4 days of workshops. It's been really rewarding. How has your Canadian experience been, especially on the CBCT training side, Mike?
Well, first, I'm jealous. You're going to be going to much nicer weather. In the background here, you'll see snow still coming in Calgary. That's how we do spring here. Yeah, I'm very familiar with CDOX in the U.S. and now they've made that movement into Canada. So I've been very familiar with them over the years, and I know you've been a leader with them for many years. And now that I'm working with them up in Canada and we're seeing what's happening, the word on the street is people are really gravitating towards that type of education because of that consistency and the ability to have two things. One, the effectiveness on Monday, and two is a pathway forward. So I find that sometimes with education, you get a little bit, or you get something, but you don't get something else, or you don't know where to go next. One thing about CDOX is everything that they build is to be built on top of each other, right? And there's steps, and you're able to learn and master a step and move to the next step. So it has been very efficient that way. And I think the Canadian docs are now seeing that. And instead of having to travel, so far in different directions, they have one place to drive to, and their website is very effective, and the communication through their website is very effective. You could be on a patient and have a problem, and you could post that, and you'll get like 50 responses right away. I don't know if some of these people just aren't working on patients, that they have that much time on these forums, but I think it's amazing that the CDOX has attracted that kind of people.
Yeah, I really like that Monday morning applicable education. I think that's a great tagline and certainly is true. And so from a dentist taking time away from their family and their clinic and their home, they get a solid ROI on that. So I certainly echo your sentiments there, Mike. What's next?
So next we have a classic segment from Dr. Tom Shackleton, one of the most chill endodontists I know. Usually they're a little bit stressed out, those guys. This guy is just always taking it easy, enjoying what he does. He does a lot of podcasts as well. Super awesome guy. He's talking about the advent of CBCT being used more and more for endo. So let's take a listen.
It'll save them a lot of heartache, that's for sure. It'll save them a lot of perforations and broken files because exactly, because we know teeth calcify coronally apical, right? So exactly how far, again, back to the measuring, I know I'm calcified until I'm at 10 millimeters, and then things should open up. And so as I drill, and I'm just, slowly, and often, if you use a microscope, you can see where that canal is, even if it's completely calcified, and you can open that up. So it will, so you have certainly your static navigation with something that you stick on a tooth, and now we're seeing more dynamic navigation, doing things in real time. It's like augmented reality, like you're a fighter pilot. You see a little red dot, and that's where your canal is, and that's where your drill goes. I mean, it's
Mike, it's interesting. Like when you and I first ventured into CBCT technology a long time ago now, it was kind of a value add. And now I think you and I would both agree that it's almost a standard of care, and we would have a lot of difficulty practicing dentistry on a daily basis without that increased visibility. And it seems like the adoption is very, very commonplace. I saw a post on an online social media forum where someone was looking to replace their pan with another pan. And, and that's fine, but it struck me as shocking almost. I was surprised to sort of see that. And I think the adoption has been fantastic. Most, if not all of our close colleagues will utilize CBCT. What's driven that? Is it the reduction in radiation and the ability to specifically dose for a patient in a procedure? What's driven that?
It's all digital workflow dentistry, man. There's a plug for us right there. No, I think that's it for sure. It's really about how it is supporting everything that we're doing, right? And if we're going to do a surgical guide, it sets the basis for the digital planning. If we're going to do, like Tom mentioned, root canal therapy, it sets the stage for our length and our starting that procedure. Finding things that we didn't know were there. Realistically, it's just given us so much more information, but also starts us at the right foot forward, right? So you're not getting into trouble and then sending somebody out for a CBCT. This way you're starting in the again, right foot forward is how I like to say it. So next, we have an awesome speaker, has really jumped into the national stage, premier lecturer, PDC, had him on the main stage, Dr. Neki Jamal, super awesome guy, super awesome dentist, and great social media presence, likes to push the boundaries a little bit, likes to tease things out to get a response, definitely knows how to be active on social media, how to get a draw, and he just is all about mindset for him. He set his mind to building one of the best wisdom teeth programs in North America and during COVID, and he did it. And everything he sets his mind to, he achieves. And he's just an awesome guy to have had on our podcast, and just an awesome guy to watch him in his journey. So let's take a listen to him talking a little bit about his road to his extraction program.
Long story there, but if you want to know the truth, I actually owe Mike a huge. I owe you a ton, Mike. You probably don't remember anything of when we first met. I first met Mike in Nicaragua, and he was on a kindness in action trip. He was practicing several more years than me. He's much more experienced than I was, and I was fresh out of school, my second dental trip. So that means I was 1 year out of school. And I remember working in a school in Managua. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And you walked over to me and I couldn't get a tooth out. And you looked at me and you said, dude, your flap is messy. and you know what? Like that you weren't saying that in a mean way, but you're like, dude, your flap is messy. And I still remember that to this day. And it's funny how there's certain moments in our lives that impact you. And I'm like, you know what? I need to change this. I need to learn how to do this properly. But there's no one there to teach us. There's no one there to teach me. I never had a mentor. There's no one teaching courses. How do you make your flap not messy? Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I hear this all the time from people taking my courses. What's your number one problem? Well, I don't know how to reflect the flap. And when I do reflect the flap, I just tear it to shreds. And I'm like, yeah, I've been there. And then this guy, Mike, he really told me to really improve. And so, Mike, I don't mean to
I vividly remember that podcast and exactly that story. And so what I'll tell you, Mike, is it's impacted me as well, because every time I mail a letter, I make sure that envelope flap is sealed appropriately. Now, that typically only happens, once every 3 or 4 quarters. But it's great to see what Neki's done. He has such a fantastic social media presence. He certainly found a niche in terms of talking about that positivity. And, he is inspiring. So great to see his success. And we're going to move on to the next clip. And this is local dentist, Dr. Valinder Dacey, that you refer to as the materials guy, and really an expert in zirconia knowledge. So, not obtuse, but cubic zirconia knowledge. So let's roll the clip and see what Dr. Dacey has to say.
So what most dentists have never seen is what zirconia looks like when it's milled, right? So they come, generally labs get them in these pucks. In our case with the CERAC, we end up getting these in blocks. But if you see it, it just looks like, it almost looks like chalk, right? And so that's when zirconia is in its pre-sintered state. And when we mill it, it's actually very weak. I mean, if you drop it, it could easily break that piece. And it's also quite large. It's 25% larger than your actual finished crown is. What happens is that on the side of the CERAC user, we can polish at that stage, and we call that stage the green phase, right? So that's where it's pre-sintered, it's large, chalky. we find the polishing is very quick and easy to do. We use a Meisinger polishing kit. The CDocs has a really nice kit put together with all the necessary polishers. And so what we find is when we polish at that stage, when we go to sinter, we get this restoration that is very, very highly polished, and it's just a bit of finishing polish. Now, the interesting thing is that we talk about zirconia. So for, again, those dentists who've been around long enough, we were always ingrained in our head, zirconia is bad against opposing dentition. We know now that is completely false. What's really important is that if zirconia is polished really well, it's...
Yeah, a lot of great information there on materials from Dr. Dacey, and it's incredible how popular zirconia is becoming. Even in the aesthetic space, Mike, we're seeing a lot more minimalistic preparations utilizing restorative and CAD/CAM dentistry. So lots more on materials, I'm sure, in our near future.
Yeah, definitely. That took us all the way back to podcast 10. Can you believe it? And it still sounds like I'm listening to him lecturing live, that it's so fresh right now, right? Again, he's always at that cutting edge of materials. And again, he's a fantastic lecturer. And now he's also on the faculty of CDocs, teaching in Toronto about CEREC dentistry and materials. So not a smarter guy when it comes to materials and CEREC around. So please check him out at cdocs.com. Vishal, let's also go back to an earlier episode and another dentist that has really blown up. It's like, what a trend here. Like all of these dentists that become superstars after being on our podcast. It's just a story that we're seeing here.
I think much like Neki giving you credit for his entire career from one flippant offhand comment, I think it's fair to say that a lot of these people owe their success entirely to you and your flippant offhand comments on the podcast. So congratulations, Mike.
I agree. It's all about dental farming, right? Farm those roots, you guys, okay? Once you get those roots farming, you'll have success like us. Now, the next dentist is Dr. Gordon Shi. What a great guy. And he talks about, in this clip, about marketing and cosmetic dentistry and the success that he's had with his marketing. Let's take a listen.
Big tips for that.
Well, I mean, it first started off with website. Obviously, your website always, I think it's still your most important way of marketing. So I think you need, obviously, don't cheap out and get like a really good SEO company to handle those things for you. I think it's really, worth the extra money to have a really good company deal with your website. In the last few years, again, with Instagram, I've kind of grown a lot on Instagram, and we do get a lot of our patients through Instagram now. And it's interesting because it's more of a global audience compared to before, where you're basically just seeing patients from Calgary. Once you get on Instagram or any other social media outlets, you tend to get more out of town people. So, I recently did a small makeover on the girl who would drive 10 hours for every appointment. And then I have like another that wants to fly here from Montreal, and another that.
Yeah, Gordon was such a great guest, such a nice dentist, such a nice guy. And it's interesting, Mike, like cosmetic dentistry is back on the rise, whether it's the influence of social media, really good marketing, as Gordon was talking about, or some of the minimalistic restorative materials that we have available. It really is back in vogue. And Gordon was, I believe, last year voted one of the best lecturers for 2025, someone to watch in 2026. In fact, we have him doing a webinar later this year at Spear as well. So a common theme I see with a lot of our guests. And he just has great information and material and presentations on SLR photography. He's got his Elevate Study Club, which he runs locally, that has fantastic guests, a lot of really good information. And he does some cosmetic programs as well. So great to see Gordon continuing to succeed. And I'm excited to see what he brings to his Spear involvement as well.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Yeah, once again, it's DWD to the moon, you know. Maybe we should change our podcast to the Artemis education. Do you think that would catch on?
You know, that mission hasn't been completed yet, so let's just see what happens. And I know you're a bit of a conspiracy theorist, so you were telling me the other day that this is actually the first time that a human has been around the moon. You didn't believe in any of those Apollo missions, but anyways,
Flat Earth.
Let's get back on track and take our tinfoil hats off and move on to our next guest and next clip.
Okay, next clip will be from Dr. Mark Ludlow, who is such a master of implantology, great mentor of mine. Every time he speaks, I learn something new. And here is, in this clip, he's talking about a new program that he put together for CDocs that is talking about implant complications, first of its kind, anywhere in the world, I think, where he really focused on bringing all of the possible things that could go wrong into a hands-on course. So let's take a listen.
It's going to be pretty awesome because I tried to figure every single possible thing that happens. And then from there, it's just a matter of, creating a model that simulates all of that, anywhere from just simply a loose, screw retained crown to a stripped screw to a broken abutment to a broken tie base to a fractured implant, you name it. We've got a simulation to be able to do that. So I'm pretty excited about it. It should be pretty fun.
And Dr. Ludlow's course was very, very well received. So they'll be offering that moving forward. And again, he'll be on the Spear side. He'll be teaching our implant restorative dentistry workshop, bringing a digital component to historically a more analog workflow that we've been teaching for a number of decades. So Mark is a great educator, really good guy, and excited to see what the upcoming year for him brings at Spear. And so our next clip, Mike, is from a local rising star, keen cosmetic dentist named Dr. Nicole Robbins. She had a lot to say on this topic, really inspiring. She's committed herself to a vision that she has and has done a lot for the local dental community. I'm sure she's going to be a rising star in the international lecturing community at some point. So let's play that clip.
But aesthetic dentistry, you have to approach in a very different manner than all other dentistry. You have to understand that it's subjective, and you have to understand that it's not necessary. It is, up to the patient. And so it has to come from them first. You're not going to walk along the street and say, hey, you need some Botox. Look at those wrinkles. Like, you would never do that. The patient comes to you with these requests. And so respectfully, you just get to know the patient and they tell you what they want. And I educate them on what I could do for them and why it would be important. And that's how I just ended up with a lot of aesthetic cases in my practice. I have a natural draw for the aesthetics.
Okay, awesome. So, what a great clip. And it really talks about that importance of relationship with the patient. If you want to do more cosmetics, take more time with your patient, talk about what you can do, and make sure you listen. And listen, don't just listen, but listen intently so that you are focused on your patient and that type of treatment can come out. But boy, she has been, if you follow her social media, she's been at every possible CE course she can do. She knows this is her passion. She has gone to all the experts to learn the best techniques, vendors, reps, going through all of their products to hone her skills. So it's very good, nice to see that passion. And she's opened a brand new clinic in Calgary, very stylish clinic. Haven't been there yet, but I've seen lots of photos. It's called the Vigier Dental. So please check that out. And I love to see someone's passion that's coming through, and how they work and how hard they put into it. It's nice to see them getting that coming back out. Kind of like how hard you're always working, Vishal, with all of these things that you've got going on. I just have to say kudos to you, because every time we talk about it, you've been taking on such a big role at Spears, and now you have all of these alumni that are now coming with you into Spears and CDocs. Kudos to you for always creating that rising tide effects by supporting those around you.
Yeah, well, Mike, it's a great 50 episodes. It's been a lot of fun doing it with you, and we would have liked to have shown more clips, but this tech team that's hidden in the back closet wouldn't allow us to continue and go on so long. But, kind of pivoting on what Nicole has done and some of our other guests, in fact, all of our other guests, it's really inspiring what they do. And through our professional relationship and our friendship, like that aspect, when you see someone like you've done doing things that you find inspiring, it's great if you can motivate yourself to continue to chase those people and try to replicate what they're doing. And so, yeah, like in the new role, I can see those inspiring people, and instead of just mimicking or trying to emulate what they do, we're now able to develop programs so they can then have a wider audience and a more pronounced voice and spread that education, that inspiration to dozens and in some cases hundreds and even thousands of dentists. So excited about the Spear journey. Mike, we're going to be revamping our podcast and actually concentrating on a lot of Spear education initiatives. So this podcast has evolved over 50 episodes. It's going to continue to evolve. I'm really excited to see what the next evolution has to hold. So a lot of great alumni. We're proud to have been a part of that journey. Any final thoughts from you, Mike?
Great comments. And I echo those. What a great journey. And, I think we appreciate all of the people, all of our guests, and a special thanks to everybody that's been on the podcast. And, I will say this, they always tell you, and I don't know who they are, but they do. They always tell you to surround yourself with people that are better than you. Surround yourself with experts. Surround yourself with people that inspire you. And that's one thing I've noticed with our podcast is we brought in people that inspire us. A lot of them are friends or become friends and colleagues, and we support each other. And that's the environment I want to live in. I want to live in dentistry that is not closed off. I want to live in dentistry that is a dentistry for all and dentistry that supports each other. That's the kind of world I like to live in. And that, I think we did something special with this podcast, is bringing a lot of that collaboration together and out into the whole North America, and super appreciative of that.
Yeah, well said. I'm excited to see what the next 50 podcasts hold. And Mike, lead us out with some final words, please.
Right on. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to this special episode. Super appreciate 50 episodes, 50 countries, and especially Germany, because Vishal's big in Germany, just like the Hoff. Please like or subscribe, and we will see you on our next episode at Digital Workflow Dentistry on Instagram, Digital Workflow Dentist on all the podcast platforms. Take care, everybody.